Good morning, everybody. And this is going to be the first episode of the Hannah Sports Podcast. I am Andrew Hannah. And with this podcast, we're going to talk football, mainly football. I call Hannah Sports. I might break off every now and then to one thing or another, talking about other sports, but mainly my entire life, my passion has been the NFL. I just would like to get on the mic a couple days out of the week. I'm thinking Monday, Wednesday, Friday sort of schedule. And we're going to be talking about football news, transactions. I might come up with something a little fun like with what we're going to do today, because right now it is March the 27th. And at 9:30 in the morning, I got on NFL.com and I could not find any transactions or anything. I guess even the NFL takes the weekend off. Since we have no news to discuss on transactions yet this morning, we are going to go over a little list that I made where we are going to rank each NFL team, and if the season started today, who your starting quarterback would be, and we're going to rank each of these quarterbacks by how much they are costing your team per touchdown. So kicking off that list, we got at 32nd, dead last place, we got the Tennessee Titans, Ryan Tannehill, who this season is going to cost $36.6 million against the cap for the Titans. And last season, he had 13 touchdowns through the air and 2 on the ground. So taking that for 15 touchdowns, he is going to be costing the Titans $2.44 million per touchdown against the cap this season. And coming in at 31st, we got Deshaun Watson for the Cleveland Browns. He is going to be costing against the cap this season $19,057,000. And last season, he had only 7 touchdowns through the air and 1 on the ground. So costing against the cap this season, they are paying against the cap $2,382,125. Those are some expensive touchdowns. Coming in 30th for the LA Rams, we got Matt Stafford, who battled injury last year, so he's going to be costing $20 million against the cap this year. And last season, he had 10 touchdowns through the air and 1 on the ground. So he is going to cost against the cap $1,818,181 per touchdown that he had last season. And in 29th, we got the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, who is going to cost $32,416,000 against the cap this year, which will be 17 touchdowns that he had through the air and 3 on the ground, costing $1,620,800 per touchdown against the cap. 28th, New York Jets. You still ain't got Aaron Rodgers yet. So, for the time being, it started today, you got Zach Wilson. Sorry, Jets. $9,586,549 against your cap this year. Last season had 6 touchdowns through the air and 1 touchdown on the ground. So that is going to cost $1,369,507 per touchdown against the cap. And in 27th, we got the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. Please get the hell out of the NFC North. Go to the Jets. Get it done, Green Bay. Jets, you better not butt fumble this one. Can't wait for him to get out of here. Aaron Rodgers, $31,623,570 against the cap this year. Last season, he did all right. 26 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground. So that's going to cost $1,171,243 per touchdown against the cap. 26th, we have the Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson. $22 million against the cap this year. 16 touchdowns through the air, and 3 on the ground. So he is going to be costing against the cap $1,157,894 per touchdown. And in 25th, we got the Dallas Cowboys' Dak Prescott, $26,832,647 against the cap this year. Last season, 23 touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, which put him at $1,118,026 against the cap. 24th, we got the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, $49,293,381, Mr. Donald Trump of football himself. Damn, that's a lot of money. But, this list, we're ranking how much it's costing your team per touchdown. I don't give 2 squirts of piss how valuable your quarterback is to your team. I don't care how good he is in the clutch. I don't care if he can bomb a perfect spiral 70 yards down the field. That's not what this list is about. We're not going off of skill. We're going off of which GM has the best bang for their buck right now per touchdown against the cap. And so here we go. 24th, we're going back to it. Patrick Mahomes, $49,293,381 against the cap. And he had last season 41 touchdowns through the air and 4 touchdowns on the ground. So for 45 touchdowns, it's going to cost the Chiefs $1,095,408 against the cap. And 23rd, we have the Detroit Lions' Jared Goff, who is going to cost $30,975,000 against the cap this year for Detroit. And last season, he had 29 touchdowns through the air, so he's going to cost $1,068,103 per touchdown. At 22nd, we got the New York Giants. Man, I am loving that new Daniel Jones contract. Aren't you Giants fans? I have a couple of friends that I have been talking to who are in New York, Giants fans, and they have been stressing about that contract since it came out, and I have had a blast making as much fun of them as I can whenever I can take the chance. But Daniel Jones is only going to cost $21 million against the cap this year. Last season, he had 15 touchdowns through the air and 7 touchdowns on the ground. So for that, he is going to cost the Giants $954,545 per touchdown against the cap this year. Coming in at 21st, we got the Arizona Cardinals' Kyler Murray, who is going to cost $16,007,000 against the cap this year. Last season, he had 14 touchdowns through the air and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So for those 17 touchdowns, it's going to cost the Cardinals $941,588 per touchdown against the cap this season. Coming in at 20th, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Still feels weird saying it that way. But good old Jimmy G strutting around over there in Vegas. It seems like the perfect place for him. But he is going to cost $16,300,000 against the cap this year for the Raiders. And he had last season 16 touchdowns through the air and 2 on the ground. So for those 18 touchdowns, Vegas is going to be paying him $905,555 against the cap per touchdown this season. Coming in at 19th, my Vikings, Kirk Cousins. After restructuring his contract, he is going to cost $20,250,000 against the cap this year. And in last season, he had 29 touchdowns through the air and 2 on the ground, so he is going to cost $653,225 per touchdown against the cap this year. Not too bad. Thank God it was restructured, but right now it seems like we're in cap hell. We'll figure it out. Or it's going to be another rough year. Because we may have made the playoffs last year, but that was stressful. Moving on. 18th, we got the Commanders. Jacoby Brissett is going to be costing $8,500,000 against the cap this year. And last season, he had 12 touchdowns through the air and 2 on the ground. So for those 14 touchdowns, the Commanders are going to pay against the cap $607,142 per touchdown. Now we start getting into all of the totals that are under $500,000, which I think are pretty good. At 17th, we got the Buffalo Bills' Josh Allen, who is costing $18,636,281 against the cap this year. And he threw 35 touchdowns last year and ran for 7, which is going to cost $443,720 per touchdown against the cap this season. Josh Allen has been my fantasy quarterback the last 2 years, and it has been fantastic. Won the championship. Not this last season, but the season before. And then this last season, so many injuries. Every other week, I was having to drop at least 2 people to injury. And I think I finished in 8th out of 10 teams. It was rough. It was rough. But we made it through. We'll try to get that championship again this next year. So going to 16th now, we have the Miami Dolphins. Mr. Tua, if he can stay healthy, I think that team is going to dominate again. I really have a good feeling about Miami, and Tua is only costing them $9,633,093 against the cap this year, and he had 25 touchdowns despite battling against the injuries. He had 25 touchdowns through the air. So he is only going to cost the Dolphins $385,323 per touchdown against the cap this season. Now, at 15th for the Atlanta Falcons, you got a couple quarterbacks over there that might start off week 1, but I believe that week 1 starter will be Taylor Heinicke. And he is going to cost $5 million against the cap. Last season, he had 12 touchdowns and through the air and ran for 1. So for those 13 touchdowns, he's going to cost $384,615 per touchdown against the cap for the Falcons. It's cold in here if I seem to be shivering. Holy fuck. I got to turn the heat on. Coming in at 14th, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You all got Baker Mayfield. It might work out, it might not, but you know what? You might be in hell for the next couple of years, Buccaneers, but you got a Super Bowl out of it, so it was worth it. Baker is only going to cost $4 million against the cap this year. He has 10 touchdowns last year through the air and 1 on the ground, and he's going to cost $363,636 per touchdown against the cap for this year. At 13th, we got the Chargers. Justin Herbert, $8,456,876 against the cap this year. And he scored 25 touchdowns through the air last year. So that would cost him $338,275 per touchdown against the cap. 12th, Jacksonville Jaguars. I got to watch a couple Jaguars games last year. It was pretty fun. Trevor Lawrence is only going to cost $10,034,587 against the cap this year. And last season, 25 touchdowns through the air and 5 touchdowns on the ground. So for those 30 touchdowns, he is only going to cost the Jaguars $334,486 per touchdown against the cap this year. At 11th, we got the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith. Geno, $10,100,000 against the cap this season. Last season, incredible. 30 touchdowns through the air, 1 touchdown on the ground, $325,806 per touchdown against the cap this year. And for the Colts, week 1 starter, Sam Ehlinger. I saw some of his highlights. I didn't get to see any of the games that he was in last season, so I didn't know who he was, honestly. And then I looked him up, and I didn't think he did too bad. I would give him the start week 1 if the season were to start right now. To see with what you got, what you got to work with. Small sample size there, but I heard the highlights that I saw on YouTube, he looked pretty solid. I'd almost give him a chance right now if the season started week 1 right now. But he's only costing $972,676 against the cap this year. He only had 3 touchdowns last year, but like I said, it was a very small sample size, it looked like. So he's only going to cost $324,225 per touchdown against the cap. Coming in ninth, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kenny Pickett, who is going to cost $3,197,251 against the cap this year. Last year, he had 7 touchdowns through the air and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So he is going to cost $319,725 per touchdown against the cap this year for the Steelers. At 8th, we got the Saints' Derek Carr. Derek Carr is only costing $7,200,000 against the cap this year. And he threw 24 touchdowns last season. So that's only going to cost dead even $300,000 per touchdown against the cap this year for the Saints. I don't understand how you're getting these guys so cheap, I should say. And New Orleans, being a Vikings fan, we don't get along, okay? We don't get along, and I wish nothing for your demise every season. Saints is team that I want to like you. I do. Because I liked Drew Brees. Drew Brees was amazing quarterback. It was fun to watch. But ever since 2009, I've tried to pretend that you don't exist. And then we keep going against you in the playoffs. The last couple of times that it seemed to mean anything. And those were some fun games. Maybe for us, not so much for you guys, but let's just say there's probably been a little bit of mutual hurt feelings on either side when it comes to that relationship. But I don't understand how you keep getting these players so cheap. Because you also got Jamal Williams, who scored 17 touchdowns last season for $1.88 million against the cap this year. It blows my mind that you got him as cheap as he did. And, even though it was kind of a down year for Derek Carr, you still are getting the man, and he's only costing $7.2 million against the cap his first season with you for 24 touchdowns through the air. I've always thought Derek Carr was pretty solid. So you guys walking away with both of these deals, and I've happened to like both Derek Carr and Jamal Williams, so this is a tough one for me to swallow, seeing both of them go over to your team for such team-friendly contracts. Kudos to whoever pulled that one off. But I'm starting to get sidetracked now. 7th, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, who is only costing $11,515,043 against the cap this year for the Bengals. Last season, had 35 touchdowns through the air, 5 touchdowns on the ground. Incredible. Joe Burrow, starting to become a big fan of that guy. And Mixon, I've actually watched quite a few Bengals games over the last 2 seasons because I've had Joe Mixon as my fantasy running back, so I've been looking into those games, and Joe Burrow has just been fun as hell to watch. But he's only costing, against the cap, per touchdown this season, $287,876 for those 40 touchdowns last season. Coming in at 6th, we got the New England Patriots, that my dad was pleased to see, that Mac Jones was almost top 5 in, something good because I know it's been kind of hit or miss over there with good old Mac. But he's only costing $4,250,820 against the cap this season for the Patriots. And last season, he had 14 touchdowns through the air and one on the ground. And so he is going to cost $283,388 against the cap per touchdown that he made last season. And now we get into the top five. The fucking Chicago Bears. They're actually doing things that this offseason that are starting to make me uncomfortable, like being smart with transactions and trades, and I don't like it. I want the Bears to be nice and dumb like they've been for most of my life. But in the fifth, we got the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields, $5,146,896 against the cap this year. Last season, 17 touchdowns through the air, and he ran for 8 touchdowns. It's pretty solid output for a Bears quarterback, gotta say. So for those 25 touchdowns, he's costing $205,875 per touchdown against the cap this year. And in fourth, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts. That man is good. He was my, you know what? I had 2 quarterbacks this year, and it was Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, and I had to start Josh Allen most of the year, which paid off for the most part, but because I think he ended up finishing. Did he end up finishing the number 1 quarterback? I can't remember. I think he was first or second when it came to fantasy quarterbacks last year. Can't remember which, but yeah, I had Josh Allen as my starter for most of the season, and then Jalen Hurts was my backup, and it kind of hurt me to have Jalen Hurts as my backup for a good portion of the season, because I could see that he was doing well, and a couple games I saw he was doing well, and dude's solid, and he's only costing $4,789,486 against the cap this year for Philadelphia. So that's 22 touchdowns through the air and 13 touchdowns on the ground, costing the Eagles only $136,842 per touchdown against the cap this year for last year's production. And now we get into the top 3. Mr. Andy Dalton for the Carolina Panthers, $2,132,000 against the cap this year. Cheap. And he had 18 touchdowns through the air last season. So that's only going to be $118,444 per touchdown against the cap this year. And in second, we have Davis Mills for the Houston Texans, who is only going to cost $1,424,209 against the cap this year. And last season, he had 17 touchdowns through the air and 2 on the ground. So for those 19 touchdowns, he's costing the Texans only $74,958 against the cap per touchdown this season. And in first place, the San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy. That man looks like a stud. All right. He looks solid. And he's only costing $889,253 against the cap this year. And so last season he had 13 touchdowns through the air and 1 touchdown on the ground. So he's costing the 49ers a whopping $63,518 per touchdown against the cap this year. And that's all about really what I was going to come on and talk about today. I make these fun little lists. I'm going to do a list and come up with a system to kind of rank quarterbacks by the value of their caps against production, their cap hits against production for every position. Just got done making a running back list. I'll probably do that on the next episode. As far as these, I forgot to mention where I'm getting these salaries, these cap hits. I go through overthecap.com. I feel like their information is pretty solid in breaking down the contracts for each player. if you would like to go check them out. Also, for a lot of my stats and grading, and I use Pro Football Focus, and those are pretty much the two that I work around, other than ESPN and NFL.com for news stories. But this was fun. I think I'm gonna have some fun doing this. If you'd like to, if you're on the YouTube channel, if you'd like to comment down below, give me your thoughts and feelings on anything or whatever, I'd love to talk to you. I'm waiting for YouTube. I gotta wait the 24 hours before I can stream, because I'm going to try to start doing these shows live. That way I can interact with anybody who want to. So I will catch you all on the flip side, and you all have a good rest of your day.